Hello, friends. Welcome to Saga Thursday, the show all about the skirmish miniatures game from Studio Tomahawk. I'm your host, Rodge, and joined once again by Monty. How are you, buddy?
Rodge, I'm super. I'm glad we're up and running.
We are up and running. Technical difficulties left and right. We're cutting segments left and right. We're going to get to the meat of it here.
Yes.
Today we're going to wrap up the paint contest. Started last month. We had a ton of entries, the most so far. And just a thank you to everybody for participating, and thank you to Gripping Beast for enticing everyone out there in the land to paint some models for the game of Saga. And besides that, we're going to talk about the campaign finale, Monty. Any previews, tips?
My lips are sealed. I want to save it for later.
Okay. And that was kind of part of a larger weekend that we're going to dive into. So we're going to cut out the news and the comments and jump right into a little bit of hobby discussion before we get to the weekend. So, Monty, what were you painting last month?
So we've fired up our Age of Hannibal campaign. Our local guy Scott is doing an amazing job. A lot of background work to make that sing. And just under the wire, I finished 7 points of Aventine Republic and Romans. And I got to say, Raj, I mean, two things. One, they are without a doubt some of the nicest 28 millimeter figures I have ever painted. I was instantly in love with them. I was thrilled with them. They took paint very nicely. Then I would also say in the next breath, unfortunately, right after I put in my order, a buddy of mine went to order them and he said, they're off the website. And I went in there and they're gone. I got the batch that was probably the last batch they shipped, and the molds were getting a little, even though they're spectacular, they're a little leaky, the hands filled in. And the person who shipped them to me, I'm going to give him all the credit, he did take the time to kind of drill some of them out, and then he gave up, and I drilled out the rest. But nevertheless, when they come back up, they're amazing, and I got 7 points done, and have had them out a couple times. So that was me.
Awesome. Nice work. Lovely, as always. Wow, used up some of your Saga luck, it would seem, getting these boys here.
Right?
Awesome. So the shields here, are those the shields they came with? Little big men had shields that fit for them, or?
Right, exactly. So Aventine does have they're one of the companies that has like a custom fit. And, I like a small shout out for this. I understand like the time that I'm painting these Republican Romans, like, they probably were kitting their own shields. So if you wanted to be like more historically correct, you probably would make each one unique. But I just can't resist the chance to make a skirmish warband look kind of souped up. And in my version of Saga history, the warlord had the money and one good artist, and he repeated the same pattern over and over again. So
sure, yeah, that makes sense. Oh, it looks awesome. Now, is there going to be 8 points here with some cav soon, or it's a hard 7 here?
So I wanted to paint Sam Knights, and I went to the Aventine site, and those are gone. I mean, I give them credit; they take stuff down, but it's a small operation. I get the sense, so when stuff goes down, it's not going up anytime soon. So then I went and I looked for something else, and it was gone. And so I'm just running with these lads for now. I would say that playing the Romans all of twice, that they move so quickly, and all their board is for infantry, that they're kind of like foot cavalry. So I don't intend, even though the Roman figures are spectacular, the mounted Roman warriors, I don't intend to paint a whole unit of them because I can't ever imagine using them. I know other people might or will, but not me. I'd rather paint up Sam Knights or something else. So this is pretty close to it. The Romans are very... The thing that put me off originally, like they were like one of my last warbands I was interested in Age of Hannibal, is their construction list is so restrictive. It's very narrow, very limited, limited equipment options. But the figures are awesome, the board is fun, and it's fine.
Cool. Yeah, I agree. The Cav, you could take it or leave it. Got that great ability, giving the guys some speed, and Cav can't use a lot of the abilities, so it kind of makes him a weak link, a target in some ways.
Right.
Where, you just want that wall of meat and gristle and
Yep.
some Saga abilities ready to pop, So, awesome. Well, nice work. Are we looking at an army next month, Monty? What's on the table?
So sadly, I am going to break the streak. I am painting not Saga for the month of August, and I also kind of want to I've got a couple things in the queue. I've got Footsore Norman, so I'm ready to do my first Norman warband built around Footsore. I've also got Avars, who would run as Huns or Mongols. And then, gosh, I think I've got a third thing in the offing, but, kind of want to see where the Age of Invasion lands. Oh, Goths. I just got a big box of Goth cataphracts, and they look awesome, but I kind of want to see where Age of Invasion lands. Like, is it really going to be September, or with these strange times, is that going to become October, November, December? So that's me. How about you, Rodge?
Well, you got a lot in the pipeline there. I think we may see an army yet, or 2 or 3 or 4 before the end of the year. For you. For me, Monty, I just completed an official painted Saga Warband army. And sharing this pic here. These are the last few models for the first iteration. This is the Berserker Hearthguard and Warlord on foot. So the guy Berserkers, those are V&V miniatures. The lady Berserkers are Brother Vinny's, and the Warlord in the middle there, that's a War Hansa model.
Oh, okay,
and,
okay.
She's a big bone gal, a little tall, a little bigger scale, but perfect for a Warlord.
Yes.
And this is cool. It's exciting. It was really fun putting those all in the box and feeling good about myself. A little pat on the back. And then immediately I was like, oh yeah, I'm going to play Monty with pagan peoples. So half of this stuff I'm not going to use. And so I
I didn't see him.
Got to it. Well, the Warlord wasn't used, but these were the pagan people's Hearthguard with heavy weapons I used. So they were appropriate. They spent most of the game hunkered down. Actually, they've been doing that a lot. So just the threat of them, I think, is enough to deter people.
That is right.
Anyways, so for the pagan peoples, I had a lot of assembly in July, and you're kind of hopeful at the beginning. You got a little target to shoot for, and then life takes over. We got birthdays, camping, and stuff like that. So definitely did not get these done, but I assembled 16 archers. These were a mix of Gripping Beast, V&V miniatures, and Brother Vinny's, and those guys were all painted up to base coat standard. Basically, they're almost ready to get the airbrush treatment. So those guys are well over halfway done. So that was really exciting. The Cav, it was V&V miniatures. Those are cataphract riders, Gripping Beast horses, and then the same thing essentially for the Warlord. V&V miniatures, cataphract, but on a Fireforge horse, Richard the Lionheart's beautiful steed. And those guys, I didn't really do much to them. I mean, they were covered with paint. That's about it. Interesting on those. They're covered with so much metal, that I'm probably going to be leaving the chainmail metal, but I'll probably be painting like the armor panels and their helmets and plates and stuff. Typically you'd probably leave it metal, but I think I'll be painting those different colors to make it a little crazy and blend them in with the rest of the force. But no particular completion date now that they've been assembled and been used for brutal combat against Monty. They might be going back in the box for a little bit, take a breather. But pretty good month for getting stuff done, and I'm really glad to have some foot sloggers done, and looking forward to using those. I'll probably get to work on the archers, and but I do kind of like you. I got some other projects in the work here, another commission, helping my buddy out with some stuff, and so probably won't see any more Saga stuff for a few weeks at least before I go back, and keep on keeping on.
Yeah, very, very well done, dude. Those are just to true Rodge standard. Those are spectacular. They look wonderful, even better in person.
Thank you. Yeah, I guess it's kind of open on what I might do next. So with this current model selection, I can do a Vikings army with a unit of levy. Now, if I paint 4 more foot guys, I can do kind of the army I originally envisioned with 2 units of levy and then a crap load of warriors. I just need 4 more to pull that off, because that's like 53 models. And I only have 48. I only got 48 ton money. 49, whatever. So I could do Vikings. I can do Norse Gales with these guys, because you want some levy. If you're running the Monty build, you need some levy. And I can use the kind of the warriors then as Hearthguard. There'll be no warriors, just Hearthguard and levy, so it's kind of easy to distinguish them.
Bingo. I like that.
And then going forward, I think I may jump to the heavily armored chainmail Yams Vikings miniatures, the Gripping Beast ones. I might do those next, actually, instead of the archers, because if I do maybe 8 or 12 of those guys, I can use them as Yams Vikings then. Those will be the Hearthguard, and then Pagan Rus as well, the Hearthguard. So that would open it up.
Yeah, a lot of portability there. Good job.
I'm really close to filling them out, really getting the versatility originally envisioned. And so it's pretty exciting. There was like 2 pieces of chainmail and like 3 helmets I painted, but otherwise there's like no metal or anything in like anything I painted so far. So it'll be a nice change of pace painting the chainmail and armored guys. And I'll probably do some fancy pants on those guys to tie them in. Monty, did you like these fancy pants?
I did. The stripes were spectacular. Very straight, very close together, very hard to do. The Rodge method.
Yeah, I got I was looking through a magazine on our camping trip, Better Homes and Gardens, and I was like ripping out pages of different patterns and designs of like just like things in there, curtains and paint jobs. I'm like, oh, those will make cool pants. So I've got some additional designs in mind on this next batch of Hearthguard. So anyways, should be fun. That's it for now. Let's move on to our glorious weekend here, Monty. Just a few days ago now, we got together. It was awesome. I drove over with a couple buds, Tom and Nathaniel, some new guys. Got to meet them. Monty, what'd you think of those guys?
They were great guys. Holy cow. Really a treat. I know this is the issue with U.S. gaming is it's such a big continent, right? I wish we were a little closer together because, I don't know. You've got a great little crew there, the guys who came. I really enjoyed them. And I think they had a lot of fun, too. I mean, they stopped by and said they did, so.
Awesome. Yeah, there was a lot of good buzz from those guys about their games that they played and the tips and tricks. And they only had a few games under their belt going in. So you guys did a good job breaking them in, showing them the ropes. And it was a lot of fun. I got to meet some new people myself. Mike DeMana. Saga, Ohio, came on over, and it was a real treat to meet him. Good guy, Monty.
Yes, he was. Yes, oh, absolutely.
Okay.
He's
Was it
he's quite
shady
the
or
world
anything?
traveler.
Yeah, he is. And Terry drove up from Chicago as well. Good to meet
Yep.
him. And yeah, so we had a nice little crew there. Who showed up on your side there?
So we had a sprinkling of people. The two kind of mainstays of our saga, Scott was there and Brent was there, kind of helping get the armies, get the terrain. And on day one, I know Patty made it out. My gosh, I'm going to miss people now. If I have to name count everyone, I'm starting to
There
stress
was
about it.
quite a few.
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
quite a few. And day two switched up. Our crew was different. I remember Luke and Matt, they're two newer Saga players. They came out and got a game in with one of your guys, and then they switched to something else. And there was a giant game like the Siege of Jerusalem going on
Yeah.
behind us too. So
That was great on day two. Just to draw some people in, hopefully.
yeah,
Hopefully that worked, but it looked like a lot of fun. And yeah, why don't we, I don't know, do you want to jump into the campaign?
I
Dave,
think
Monty?
I think I'll
Should
let
we?
you do it because the history is written by the victors. If that's a little bit of a
Oh,
spoiler.
okay. All right, all right. All right. Well, all right. So we decided to end the campaign. It was fitting. We needed to get over there, play some games. So naturally, this was the conclusion. So I was technically up in wins. So I had 3 wins to your 2 wins, and then we had 2 draws, actually. How often do you draw games of Saga?
Not
Monty?
very often. It's very
Yeah,
unusual.
we had 2.
Yep.
So, that kind of shows the nature of our competition here. And so going into the game, I should, according to the rules of our campaign, we kept it loose, have some sort of advantage. And so I manifested that advantage in a scenario. I don't think it particularly advantaged me, but maybe you could disagree. We could talk about it. So the idea for this scenario was in Saga, we've got the Battle for Heroes cards. We've got the 10 scenarios from the rule book. And, the Battle for Heroes cards on one end are essentially kind of Clash of Warlords. Sometimes they can throw something in there, but for the most part, you're still just unfiltered Saga trying to kill the other guy. And then a lot of the scenarios can be very specific and objective focused, not always. And, sometimes just going for the objective is the way that you win. And sometimes, I can think of a game of feasting and pillaging where I spent all my Viking activations moving away from the enemy, as an example. So that wouldn't normally happen, typically in a game of Saga. So I wanted to kind of meet somewhere in the middle. I kind of felt like those 10 Book of Battle scenarios are kind of filling the pages. They had a full page. They had to fill it up with rules and stuff like that. So I just wanted a battle with just a little something, just a little spice, Monty. And so this would be, I envisioned possibly like a round 3 battle in a tournament where you kind of just want to let them fight, but you need a little something to draw them out and make sure there is a fight. We know if you have experienced Saga players and you have certain factions lined up against each other, some one or both may not want to engage or, play overly defensive and you don't have much of a game. So the scenario here I came up with is Hallowed Ground. And basically you put a marker in the middle of the board. And at the end of each turn, if you have a unit within medium, you score a bonus point at the end of your turn. Now there is a little nuance there where the within that circle you have to have a unit worth more survival points than the actual turn number. So and you could kind of add 2 units. So I'm going to have this scenario just posted below for people to take a look at. So on turn 1, you had to have a unit worth 2 or more survival points within medium of the center of the table to score that bonus point. On turn 6, you would need 7 survival points. So you probably wouldn't have that in 1 unit, but you could have that within 2 units. So you could get up to 6 bonus points. So you wouldn't win the game solely based off the objective. And I kind of flipped the early version to you where you kind of got double bonus points. There's 2 objectives. And I felt after looking at that one, you could win the objective solely by loading up the center. So this kind of gave you another lever to work with, and but it wouldn't necessarily win you the game, but it would force, some kind of confrontation. What do you think of that assessment, Monty, playing this scenario?
Right. I mean, that version, I remember thinking that I needed to create a wall. Like this, the second rule was I get a point for my units in the Hallowed Ground, and I get a bonus point if you're not in the Hallowed Ground. So it would be like I need to crush you and push you out of the Hallowed Ground.
Yeah, so with that one, I felt if you had 2 good rounds in a row, you'd be up by 4. And that's a pretty hard number to overcome. So, if it's just the 1 per turn, you kind of keep your toe in there, but then you have to make a judgment call whether you're going to try to go for it or not, or try a different way to win. And yeah, that was the thought there. So we set up, Monty, the Pagan Peoples. Were you expecting that build from me?
No, I was not.
Okay.
So
what were you thinking,
well,
actually? I'm curious.
I thought maybe I lost the thread on this because we took a little bit of a break and we're playing the Eastern Princes. So,
yeah, I think that was our last game.
Right, the last
2 or
3
3
games
were Princes, so maybe 3 off.
So your options for warriors, you could do warrior bow, you could do warrior shield and spear, or no?
You can do warriors with no equipment,
right?
And you can do warriors with bows,
right?
Are the 2
right.
options.
And then your levy are javelin and levy, and I think that's it, right?
Correct.
And in our games online, I think a couple times you had done 2 points of 2 points mounted, but I mean, you bring what you have painted, and I think you usually split them into 2 4-packs. Well, maybe it was a 6-pack. Shoot, but if it was a 6-pack, anyways. And you did have, I know you did like to have your point of a heavy weapon heart guard, but for some reason, I can't really say why. I thought you'd have some warriors, just standard warriors, and you doubled down on the very efficient 24 levy, javelin levy, broken into 6-packs. There's nobody who can get more out of a 6-pack of levy than the Pagan people.
Definitely, yeah. So 2 points of levy with the 4 6-packs. I had 2 points of warriors, a unit of 5 bows, and a unit of 11 bows. So I think in our very first games, I did take some just regular hand weapon shield guys. But, based off, the board, the versatility, it's like you're trading a bow for the armor, and kind of in the big scheme of things, with the shooting abilities and everything out, like there's no reason you wouldn't just rather have the bow, because you'll probably get a couple volleys off.
Right.
And then, it's just 1 pip difference in armor, you're kind of keeping them back anyway. So I just went all bows.
Yep.
And then I had Hearthguard with heavy weapons on foot in a 4-pack for teleporting purposes. And then 4 Hearthguard mounted to get out there with javelins, and then a mounted warlord with javelins. And yeah, so we kind of deployed around the center there. I was the first player. I will say this scenario has the latest Saga innovation in Monty. I rolled 3 dice, and the second player, you just rolled 5 dice. You had a 5 dice cap.
Yeah.
What did you think of that?
I wasn't sure what that was all about. So what is that all about?
Oh, well, we know that nobody wants to be the first player,
Right.
and the 3 dice is a huge handicap. So did you feel it was more even with the second player just being limited to 5?
Yeah, I don't have a problem with 5. The nature of this scenario is I think it's a slow boil. Like there's no reason, especially versus an all shooting build, there's no reason for me to rush my army in there to be gun line down. I unfortunately, if you were to reel back the tape, um, I probably I probably took my first step to losing the game with the terrain. The problem is there aren't many
Sure.
good terrain options against the pagan people. You will always be able to put down 3 pieces, and you were allowed to put them right up against the Hallowed Ground. So you have instantly one in your back and then 2 other pieces to teleport into, and one of them was right behind me. So that was, as I was putting down my army, I had a thought. I put a swamp down, and I figured I'd put the swamp down because you couldn't get in it. And if you were going to charge my bowmen, my crossbowmen would be in the swamp, and they'd be harder for you to get at. So one could support the other. So the theory was good, but the whole thing started falling apart pretty much from the beginning.
Sure. Yeah. So you try to utilize that piece,
Right.
and it did protect you.
Well, it kept
But
you
then,
from putting a giant field behind me because that was also a second concern I had. You could have dropped like the biggest damn field, and it would fit right in there, and you'd be able to charge me from any direction. So it was really, I kind of was between the devil and the deep blue sea on trying to sort the terrain out. And I think about it, and like in retrospect, I think as player 2, you just put one piece down, and when you put down the second piece, I just move it, and I just let you drop a piece wherever you're going to drop it, and keep the train count down by 1.
yeah. Well, I think what you could have done in this battle maybe is use it as a blocking piece, but don't put your guys in it, only because, I mean, you could see that I had my big archer pack, and they were going to be within range and still within the woods.
Well, you deployed the second though, Rodge. You put half your force down. You held back your hammer unit.
Correct, but my first turn I moved up those archers into the woods, so you could have kind of just moved them back.
Yeah, but I had them in the swamp. So
yeah,
and then they can't shoot into the. You know what? I misunderstood how the game would go because it was the first time I played it. It was the first time I played the pagan people in it. Obviously, I thought you would be in the middle and contesting, and I thought I would eat your arrows, but I could pepper you with my crossbow. But that 11 pack just got rocking and gun lined me down.
Yeah, so that kind of set the stage then for the future turns. So we're kind of eyeing each other up first turn. Second turn, though, I'm able to overactivate that 11 pack of archers in 2 or 3 volleys and take your crossbows down from 8 to 4. And then at that point, I feel comfortable moving in some levies into the middle. And then we have our little scrum. And I guess your archers kind of followed quickly because then they were taken out with the javelins. So I felt like I did a good job of rationing out my rares and not burning them all. So I think I queued up Tara Avita maybe on turn 2, but didn't use it till turn 3.
Yep.
And then I had a horse on Umber Pirama, maybe on turn 3, but I didn't use it till turn 4. So just trying to keep cool, not overextend, because I didn't know, how wild you were going to go knocking down my Saga dice. And I knew that, kind of having those 2 rare abilities in the pipeline were really important to keeping the effort going. But Monty, I was thinking about the battle again, and I think the key point may have been my warlord charging into those 4 Hearthguard.
Right.
And I don't think you should have closed ranks. I kind of knew that, Monty, that you closed ranks to knock down the javelin ability and to possibly survive. But you saw all the Saga abilities I had queued up. So I think in that case, you would have been better off, taking me down with you than trying to hold out and have that one guy left. Because as it worked out, you closed ranks, your attacks went down to 4, you kind of botched them anyways. So all I took was the fatigue for the combat. I wiped you out anyways, and then I was able to scooch back with several activations where if you had kept the full 8 attacks, you only need 2 to get me too exhausted, or even, just sneaking 1 through can make a difference on just canceling an activation and basically just leaving my warlord blown out in the wind there. I think that could have been quite painful.
Right.
What do you?
Right.
Did that come up in your thoughts at all? Or
Right. I mean, that certainly is an alternative and probably a good one. My general rule is when I'm getting hit by javelin, I just don't want to hand it to you on a silver platter. And secondly, I have managed to, like when you're rolling on 4, 5s, and 6s, I have rolled out of that situation many a time, right? So so mathematically, I heard what you're saying, but I also was still throwing 4 dice back and should have been hitting you on 2 of them. And,
fours,
right?
Yeah.
And as long as I just put 1 hit on you, I'd have some control in slowing you down. And I completely whiffed my attacks and I whiffed my defense. Before that turn, I had put out 12, I think 16 shots on your warriors. That's what set my bowman up for you to hammer them, was that I saw you shoot the crossbowmen off the table. I'm like, well, these guys are just, their time is going to come and go real quick. So I might as well try to take your Saga dice. I put out 16 shots. I killed 1 warrior, I think it was. And there were just too many moments, like that where, I had my chance. I rolled my dice, but I don't know. And after your warlord, I think it was that turn, or was it even the turn before? After you took out, after I dealt with your levy, I was surprised, and maybe I shouldn't have been, but it was my first time going through this scenario. I was surprised that for turn 4, 5, and 6, you didn't even contest the Hallowed Ground. And you pulled back more than a double move away from all of my troops. And so as we kind of hit the last turns, I rolled my dice, I placed them, but there really wasn't anything I could do. And, that's the thing with the pagan people. You pick the time, you pick the place, you have the activations. Your archers are like just pouring fire, hellfire out. And I'm in the Hallowed Ground looking around like, where are the pagan people? Well, they booked and they got a good lead, and you're riding that to the finish line.
Yeah, so it was definitely it felt that I couldn't just keep shoving things into the middle. So at that point, you'd eaten up all the levy. There was 1 levy unit left, so I could have shoved them in, but it wouldn't have been enough survival points to kind of get the point. So then it would have been warriors and Hearthguard, and it kind of felt, in a toe-to-toe fight, we don't want to do that against the Hearthguard. You got good defensive and attack abilities. So yeah, I only scored two times in the middle, and you scored 5 times. So you came up with a 3-point advantage towards the end. So the difference going into the last turn was only 2 points between us, we calculated. So I felt, well, I gotta make this a bigger gap, because I said you're I'm double out, but you can go triple out, put all your dice on all your abilities, and probably come up with those last few points in the haymaker swing potentially. So I need to get the gap bigger. So actually I moved my big archer pack up. Had a couple activations queued up, but they're fatigued, so I rested them. Did a shot. Didn't do anything. I killed 1 guy, but it didn't tip the numbers at all in my favor. And then you whipped over with God's Host. I think I forgot about that one, like every turn. You whipping that out. And then all of a sudden, you're 2 moves away from the archers. And I'm like, oh man, this is a lot of points sitting with armor 3 too close. So I ended up pulling them back. So my last turn was kind of a big mix up. I didn't get anything, and now you're closer. I've got more fatigue. So you were able to triple activate with 2 fatigues on a Hearthguard pack, going up against my warrior, 11 warriors with 2 fatigues. So it was a straight fight, but you had a couple Saga abilities in the queue, and I wasn't very excited about where this was going. But with my 11 attacks, I got 4 hits, and you saved 2 of those, so 2 Hearthguard went down. And you got, somehow these guys put out 11 hits going through. So you're 2 points down. You know, every warrior is a point. I've taken out 2 Hearthguard. So now if you bring it back even for the scenario, you're going to win because you have more of those objective points. So I need to make 5 or more of the saves mathematically to come out ahead out of 11. So that's kind of right on the cusp of the mathematics there for saving a third. I did save 7 of them just to stick it to you. And so I lost 4 warriors to your 2 Hearthguard. So it just didn't move the numbers in the end. So it was just a slight 2-point victory for the pagans there in the end. But you did a good effort there for sure, Monty. So what did you, I guess one thing, you took a warrior pack. It looked like you were kind of waffling on that or not. What do you think in retrospect?
We hadn't clarified on mercs or not. And I was thinking of taking Western warriors on foot because I already know how this is going to go. I'm going to be facing the pagan gun line. And so we kind of waffled for a minute on that. And, you know, always go forward, always keep it simple. So with not being able to put the mercs out there, I looked in my box. You had the terrain right behind me. You had terrain where you could double move charge at any point on the board was going to be within your reach. And there just is no way that I want to put mounted Hearthguard out for your gun line.
Sure.
So I don't have enough foot knights painted, so I put 8 foot warriors, just useless. Not useless. They die a little slower. But you did to me something that I have done more and more lately. Like I would say, like basic Saga is you play your board, and advanced Saga is I'm look at your board and I work around it. Like if you have it queued up that your defense is on X, then I go after Y. So I, every turn, put up, gosh, I got to remember what it is now. The one, Happy of the Humble, making my Hearthguard 6s and Resilience 1 to shooting. And you just, for the rest of the game, you, except for that one time, you bullied everything, you know, except that. I think you were eyeing the warriors, but you already had enough points, so didn't really need to mess with them. So, so that's it. The weakness of that build is that, well, so the weakness is like if you said, like if we finished that game and you were like, the Saga Master, and you said, again, we're going to do this again. And
again,
right? I mean, here's what I would do, Rodge. I would drop, if you took the rocky ground, I would drop the ruins in my back section. I would drop it right on the edge of the hallowed ground, and I'd park my army in there. And then if you put a unit in the middle, I'd move one in there. But I wouldn't let you, bully and take out the levy, because they really were my Achilles tendon in this game. They didn't pull their weight. They died quickly to just massive waves of shooting.
Yeah, I agree. So you put up the +1 armor, resilience blocker for the Hearthguard. So I did kind of plink some shots in there, just as activations come up.
Right.
I don't think, maybe I hit you once and you saved it.
Right.
So, I mean, armor 6, so it wasn't even worth it trying to go in. So it did shift the battle plan entirely to going and taking those levy out. And yeah, I think, you know what, you could have definitely went with that approach, Monty. 2 levy, you have 1 sitting back there. You know, it was easy pickings, but now it's locking down this terrain piece. You can spread out, so I can't possibly pop in there. You know, just as the game goes on, it just becomes more and more powerful just sitting back there. And yeah, that would have been a very, very difficult game, I think, putting those Hearthguard up front, saving the levy, you know, trying to get something in between the shots. And, you know, those guys are pretty close to invulnerable. You know, can sneak some through, but it really changes my approach to more melee-oriented, kind of wear you down with multiple combats. But then you're swinging back and you're killing me on your turn and taking out my Saga dice. And, you know, at least you get to slap me back a little bit.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, if the levy have to go in. So, yeah, I think Hearthguard up front, hunker the levies in the back. You know, maybe you don't get the good shot on turn 1 or 2, but you're just waiting because pretty much everything I have is vulnerable to those shots. If you can just get that one in with you know, chinks in the armor, you know, it just takes that one crossbow volley to really wipe out one of my unit, you know, really cause some damage. So
right.
I think your assessment is spot on.
Right. So can I ask a question? Because this is important. Like if you're going to be playing your buds in Pagan People, and you probably want to make sure you have this clear. I had it floating in my mind, and I thought it was a thing you could do, and I thought it was a trick you were going to just break out at me at a moment when I wasn't vigilant. So the rule on, okay, help me out, the teleporting ability.
That's Monte.
Right. That they have to, put them in an area of uneven terrain. So the way I read that is if you could even put a micrometer of that base, all 4 of your bases, say your Hearthguard, right? Your Hearthguard heavy weapon. If they can even just like you're throwing the 2-inch very short stick, and you can even get a toe in, then under the definition of what's in terrain on, you know, like page, what is that, 35, you're in. So, I mean, there's like a very taxing thing that you think you're blocking them out of terrain, but I mean, the challenge is VS, and if they can get a toe in, I do not believe they need to be like the figure has to literally be, the whole round has to be in, because the definition of in is if a toe is in, you're in.
Sure, yeah. I guess I've never done that, but I would agree.
Well, it's one of the problems. It's one of the problems you have is you're trying to think this through, right? You're playing in real time, and these terrain pieces have uneven shapes, and a 4-man Hearthguard unit. I mean, that's not hard to get into a piece of terrain. Even if I think, oh look, I spread out and you can't get into it, and then you kind of come around and you just like, you know, you can pry your way into those spots.
Possibly, I think with the 12 levy, I mean, you can spread out into an 8-inch by 8-inch square. And, you know, I get the extra room, so I can have, you know, 99% of the base hanging off the piece of terrain.
Yep.
So so there's like an extra little, you know, 3/4 of an inch around the edge on those pieces.
Right.
So I agree that for people listening, you know, you really got to make sure if you're blocking your troopers within very short of the edge of the terrain, because if he's within very short +1, and you know, you could line up 4 guys, you know, just a micrometer within. Yeah, that's interesting because actually the first part of the description is in order to teleport, I have to be entirely located within an area of uneven terrain.
Right.
And then, so to teleport, I have to be, you know, 100% in, but you're right. You know, you're just reading the verbiage, you know, when they pop out on the other end, you know, you could extrapolate that the same restriction could apply, but it doesn't say.
No.
So,
well,
I agree with.
It's just a thing that I always was aware of. In all of our games, I never bothered trying to block you out. Now, I will admit, like early on, the first game, I don't play pagan people, so I was caught out. The second time I understood it, but I just pretty much just always looked at terrain as like, that's an entry point, and and so I spent a few activations trying to keep you screened from coming out of the woods behind me, and that's kind of a waste of time. But I knew you could lay an easy charge on like my levy from back there, so it's just part of the difficulty of playing the pagan people that when you play me, let's flip this around for a second. How many times in our game did you get caught out? Honestly. And it's okay to say 0.
Just the last turn there.
The triple move?
That one's God's Host.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, you did make some moves earlier, but it was always, I had additional activations to kind of...
Exactly. But there's nothing really, like my board is a roadmap, and yours is not. Like, you can look at my dice, you can look at my board, and like everything is Hearthguard, my build is Hearthguard, you can know what I'm going to do. And I look at your board and I look at your dice, and they work on anything. Like, it could be your Hearthguard, it could be your levy, it could be your warriors. So like, I'm just kind of puzzled. I just kind of sit back. So my point is, it's taxing, which is an advantage for you, that by the time we get to the end, I just feel like I've been in the ring for 8 rounds with Muhammad Ali. Let's try 1 round with Muhammad Ali. And I'm like, okay, like we were getting to top 6. I'm like, so how far am I down? And you're like, you're only down 2 points. And I was flummoxed. I'm like, I thought I was down, like, like we don't even need to play my turn. So I was very surprised to hear that like the score was close. And then I just kind of tried to suss out, like, okay, like, I have one thing that I can hit. Let's see if we can go hit it. So it's tough.
No, I agree with your assessment there. It's kind of like the inherent advantage of the reactive armies is, the other guy has to make plans, commit, and the reactive guy can see the plan and, kind of deal it. Now, it's not... The pagans aren't truly reactive, but it's just the flexibility of the movement and activations on their turn mean that it's, whatever you do, there is kind of some kind of counter or some kind of way to play against whatever, move that you pulled out. So good points there. I guess, I don't know, one thing you could have done, put the rocky ground and put the levies in there, leave room for a teleport, and then if you queue up some of these defense dice abilities and maybe try to sucker me in, I don't know. I don't think I would do it as long as you had one of those abilities queued up. There's two of them.
Right. One of them is based on my armor class, so it's not terrible having 3. I mean, it was my first run out of this game. I honestly thought the battle would be in the middle, and I didn't foresee that that you could win without even being in the middle for the second half of the game. Like, I'm standing around in the middle, I'm kind of stuck. I have a slow foot build, and I mean, there's just not a lot of options. I just, I would do it a little different the second time through.
Sure. Well, yeah. Glad to hear. And I think if we had a little more time, I think it would have been good to let me run the Crusaders, let you run.
I would have really liked that.
Yeah, I would have actually.
It's kind of a shame.
I didn't think about it.
And I actually have one idea, which I won't share with you because I suspect that somewhere down the line, we might actually, bring these 2 armies. Like, I actually, so I have enough gripes about the Baltic Crusaders. Like, part of me is like, well, I think I've learned everything about them and I've done everything with them I can do. And I just enjoy running the mutts better. It is a more vibrant board. It's asymmetrical. I never have a bad time with the mutts. And like in this game, I just was like, I power up Happier the Humble. That's 1/3 of my dice. There's not a lot I can do after I power it up. It's very stone-footed. It's not very imaginative. But then afterwards, I was thinking about it, and I had one last thought. To kind of solve the pagan people puzzle. And I don't know that it actually would work because it's just in my head and I haven't tested it. But I know what doesn't work, and I think I've checked the box on all of those things.
All right. All right.
Anyway,
Sounds good.
yeah, I do wish we had more time. That would be kind of interesting because honestly, like, I remember we had the one game and you were like the Ordenstadt, you just tabled them like in 3 or 4 turns. And then I think you saw me run them again, and that did not change my opinion of the Ordenstadt at all. They're just,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. If you're a little disappointed by the Baltic Pagans, you're gonna hate running the Ordenstadt. Sorry.
Oh, funny. Well,
Anyway,
I don't know. They look kind of fun. They're kind of Viking-ish. So eventually that'll be one of the iterations of the pagan build here. I'll have the levy and foot warriors will be these models that I have. The settlers, the conscripts, and then I'll have mounted warriors, and Hearthguard will be the Teutonic, overlords, and I'll run them out there and do some suicide bombs and see if we can get it going.
make that board work, dude. Make it work.
Make it work. Yeah. Well, do what we can, but I think it'll be fun. Yeah. After playing through here, closing thoughts, I guess. I played a couple of the new guys, once or twice with the pagan people, so I'll be shelving them. Maybe for Adepticon, I'll break them out again for the Crusades, and that would probably be my Crusades army. I don't have any other Crusades option, so that would be it. But for friendly games, I've been mixing up. Monty, I've already got a game in with the Norsgales earlier today.
Wow.
Can you believe it?
Oh, that's quick, dude. Good job.
So I'll have some thoughts on Norsgales in future episodes. Very fun. But yeah, I think we did a good job mixing it up. We did end up having to try different factions, the associated factions to kind of keep things going. So the original kind of goal of the campaign maybe didn't fully work, but I think we kept to the spirit of it.
Yeah, agree.
Mm-hmm. So these Crusader models, Monty, the people want to know, are these for sale? Is there
Probably. I mean, I bounce wildly. I have no firm plans. I thought of like something. I actually put some additional figures in the cart, and then I was like, why am I doing this? I have 3 other warbands that kind of want to be painted, and you know what I mean? I just, at some point, there's other warbands to try, and yeah, I think they will go up. I wavered. I was like, well,
Okay.
if I went all warrior, which I have like only 2 points, so I'd have to paint, like a lot more. That's one option, like the Crusader Levant version. So I don't have the figures for that. And then I was like, but if I do this other version, and I'm like, yeah, because see, the key issue, like I should just drill right down to it. The key issue is, as good as Happy Are the Humble is for like making you bulletproof with your Hearthguard in a world that's so full of shooting warbands, the Byzantine, the pagan people, the Saracens, right? Being bulletproof has a power, but here's the deal. You pick up your dice, you throw them out, and you roll all commons. So how bulletproof are you going to be then with your, mighty knights, whether they're on horses or on foot? I mean, that's a problem.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. So, yeah, we'll keep an eye out, folks. Message
Right?
Monty. Yeah,
Yeah.
let's throw offers out there. You never know what might stick.
They're in the mail.
Yeah. So, anyways, well, that was fun, Monty, doing that little campaign.
Yeah.
Kept my Saga spirits alive
Same.
during the dark times.
Yep.
Tabletop Simulator was fun. I very strongly prefer in-person games. So, as long as I've got some local buds, I don't think I'll necessarily be dipping my toes in, but it's good to know that it's out there, and that, if you wanted to game against some folks in Europe or something, Bud's far away, you can definitely make it happen.
Bingo. And if you don't mind, I did want to pitch in on that. So I 100% agree. When I first put my toe into Tabletop Simulator, I was so like struggling with kind of the wonkiness and the figures tipping over and then the terrain and what you lock down, all the little nuances in the beginning. I put it aside. But I am going to keep in the Tabletop Simulator game because,
cool.
yeah. So here's the real issue. I played a guy in Moscow, and he's a really good player with Anglo-Saxons. And what's funny, Rodge, was he is running a build I don't want to say discovered, but a build I came up with like 2 or 3 years ago that I love to death. And he has it, and he's using it in Moscow now in real life in his tournaments. And I was trying late Romans, and oh my gosh, like as the Anglo-Saxons, he got a rare every turn, and so that's a disaster. His warriors are his levy are fighting like warriors, and he's rolling me up. But weeks go by, I get a game with another guy from Moscow. He knows the first guy, and they speak English, and it's just they're cracking jokes, and it's just great to get kind of that world perspective. And just be able to like talk to people from around the globe and like get different, hear how their club works and what they think is cool. And so I'm gonna stay with at least a game a month with the international guys.
Awesome.
Yeah,
that's really great.
It's fun.
I'm glad to hear that, Monty. Keeping your toes in the water.
Yeah.
Definitely head over to the Discord and get in there. There's a Tabletop Simulator section, so let's keep that section alive here going forward. That's great. That's awesome. Yeah, definitely lots of opportunities there. Trying out new armies, new players, new builds. Good times. On the Discord server, Monty, we had a paint contest.
Yes, we did.
The response was tremendous.
Dude.
The full Monty challenge overwhelmed us.
It was overwhelming. In a good way. In a good way.
In a good way. So thank you to everybody who participated. I think we had 13 entries.
Yes.
And the response was pretty amazing. I think there's 1, 2, 3, I'm going to round it up to 4 armies were painted over the course of a month.
Yes.
Other people, painting 2, 3 points of stuff. And yeah, wow, that was inspirational, seeing what people can paint when they put their minds to it,
In July, it's the summer, right? It's the hardest time to like carve out some time. I mean, like you said, camping, trips, family, it's just, and here this productivity is off the charts.
Yeah. So there's so many pictures. 13 entries. We're not going to be able to go through them. I can see our campaign chat already went longer probably than we thought, even cutting out every section. So we're going to have to give it up. We're in agreement to Robin 104277 with the Northgale Army going over the top, turning it into a comic book, giving us voice bubbles. That's always a good way to get in with your masters of the paint contest. So it was tough because there was some other stuff I liked. Yes. I like Nick Knocknaj, the Irish, the Wargames Atlantic Irish Army. Looked really cool. I like those colors. I might be using some of those colors on something going forward. I liked Andrus M., his Epirote Griculi. Gorgeous. 3 points, was a very strong contender.
Yes.
As far as paint job, basing was probably my favorite from a technical perspective. Even did 3 points worth, so he was in the running there as well. And then Terry, Chicago Saga guy, right?
Yes.
Tiberians.
Yep, that's him.
He was also up there as far as our favorite picks. Any random comments? Monty,
boy, I couldn't believe how fast and furious these armies were popping, and I just, it's really nice to see. It's a nice little community, lots of positive vibes for all the painters, and people bouncing back and forth, asking how they do, like how they got their wood and their weathering and everything else. It's really nice to see this high of achievement and effort, and kudos to everyone in the contest this month.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it was cool to see kind of how things unfolded. Kind of more from like a community perspective. Questions being asked. The immediate kudos versus just sending pics to me in an email.
Exactly.
Just sit till the end of the month. So,
right.
Thank you everybody for logging on. Now we're going to give one random winner as well. Going to Gripping Beast here. So I got a Excel document here, Monty.
Okay.
Put everybody's names in here. So Robin will be out since he's a winner. So that leaves 12 entries here. What? Roll that D12, baby.
Here we go. You don't have a proper hobby room if you don't have a D12.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And it fell off. Okay. One more time. It is a 5.
Hear that? Beautiful. A 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Worldwide Mike.
Woo!
8 Mongol Warriors. So Mike Demana.
Good job.
Snuck in a post on there, and he's the random winner. Congrats, Mike.
Yeah.
Very cool. So, yeah, thank you to Gripping Beast for supporting the contest once again. They're going to hook these guys up, and yeah, make sure to show them some love here so they keep on doing these.
Yep.
They'd probably do them every month if I could handle it, but I just can't, Monty. I'm the weak link here. I just can't do it. Oh, okay. Yeah, thank you, everybody. We'll probably do a winter paint contest at some point. But if the Discord people want to run their own paint contest or some kind of monthly challenge, that'd be cool. I would definitely give my blessings to that. But Monty, it's been tremendous. Any closing thoughts here?
Only that, boy, it was really nice after that really long period where we couldn't get out, we couldn't do things. It was really nice to have all those good people under one roof, a day of gaming, go get beer and some dinner, come back early the next morning, do it again. And, thank you, Rodge and Terry and Mike and everyone who traveled to come show up. It was just awesome. I mean, if we didn't have these great people like you and everyone else, I wouldn't be in this space. I stay in this space and I play Saga because of the people. So there you go.
Sure. Wow. Yeah. Thank you. Those are good words there, Monty. Yeah, I had a blast coming over, getting some games in. It was super chill. Loved it. The way it worked out, the last kind of round, I didn't get to play, but it didn't even matter. I didn't even care. I just got to go chat and bug people and point out the flaws in their tactics. No, you're just hanging out with buddies, doing the thing that you love. And yeah, I agree wholeheartedly. It's the people that keep me around here. So
Yeah.
Thank you, everyone, for sticking with us for this episode. We'll be back in September doing our usual thing. Maybe I'll try to catch up on the comments from last time. And I think that'll be it. Have a good one, folks. We'll catch you on the next one.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Saga.